Classic Tech. En el espacio limitado. I remember those days cuando escribir un texto era un peo, pero even then, la letra me surgía como si nada, y pasaba el tiempo necesario, escribiendo lo que fluía en el espacio limitado. What a way. What a way to write to other people, right? But we did it anyway, because it's all we had. Y poco a poco vimos un cambio cabrón, y lo más natural se convirtió en otra parte de la tech. Y míranos ahora con computadoras en bolsillos. Snake. Me acuerdo jugar Snake, casi cogiendo toda la pantalla gastando la batería porque no había a qué temer, de qué preocuparse. Life was a lot simpler then. One could spend hours playing a silly game like Snake, pero ahora la cosa está más difícil. I don't know. I don't know what were the limitations back then, but I'm pretty damn sure the poems I have on this phone wouldn't last long in my first phone. The mind wanders. The mind wanders looking at the old Nokia, the old computers, and the old consoles I had back then. Man, what a time. Y que mucho ha cambiado todo in such a short time. In a way, I'm thankful of not always being up to date with the latest tech, because I'd probably be addicted to that now. Pero a la vez, there were a few things from back then that I would have enjoyed and maybe changed my way of life. iPod. I can't remember the last time I saw an iPod, but I remember the first time was at school, and it was a big model, a chunky one that could fit a bunch of songs. Later, I saw people with nanos all around, but I still wanted the chunky one. And eventually I did. And I got one that had like 16 or 32 gigabytes of storage. And that's when the obsession started. The digital crate digging had already existed. But now I searched more music endlessly, even borrowing some from Dad's collection, and adding it in there. I don't know if I ever filled it up, but I do remember having a wide variety of tunes, which served as the baby steps to what my Spotify looks like now. A simpler MP3. Once the iPod died, I got a simpler MP3, one much smaller and less expensive, but one that could still hold a bunch of tunes despite its messy organization. I don't remember its name, but I do remember my friend David serving as the mage who introduced me to it. Sadly, it didn't last long due to my own stupidity, but that was a lifesaver for a while. MySpace days. MySpace days were an interesting wave. I remember those days spending hours editing my page, but even more time searching for my favorite artists' pages and the music from the indie body scene. Those were interesting days, and in retrospect, I can see the impact that one platform had on our entire generation and the future. Motorola. I remember that Motorola, the first cell phone I ever saw IRL. It was my dad's, and it had a big antenna. It was kind of surreal, because I had only seen that in movies, but I guess this type of luxury was available for the everyman at that moment. I don't remember ever using the phone, but I do remember it felt chunky. Definitely serving as a product of the time, a time capsule if seen today by younger folks. Looking back. Looking back now, a lot of classic tech was always heavy and clunky, but it had its charm. Even if it took time to boot, even if the web was in its infancy, it all had its charm. I'd like to take 'em for a ride now, just to see, experience it all again, and gain new perspective on the matter. PS1. My old PS1 lies asleep in a plastic bag gathering dust. It provided a lot of escapism and inspiration back in the day, and for that and more I thank it. I just wish I could have had more days with it, so we could share more days together. But that's how life goes when you're middle working class, and your parents don't know much about tech. As I type away. As I type away yet another poem, I look back on classic tech and think about my students and just how mortified they'd be if they ever had to use what I used back in the day for just one day. God, what a hilarious experience that would be. Maybe they'd learn a lesson or two, or maybe they'd miss the whole point of the experiment.